Hello, everybody, and welcome to Set the Tempo for the WNBA Draft live stream. We are getting set to get started. We're going to see who the first overall pick is in the WNBA Draft. We're also going to see who the Toronto Tempo are going to be selecting. Forgive me, I'm trying to set up the chat here. It was a problem for the entry draft, which was annoying. But nevertheless, the Toronto Tempo will draft their first ever entry draft. And we saw that Shakira Austin, who they signed to an offer sheet, was matched by the Washington Mystics, which means the Tempo kind of need a center. What does this mean for the Mystics? Are they going to go somewhere else? Could they potentially draft Flo J. Johnson, for example? We don't know. We are left to see what happens with the WNBA draft, live reactions, live analysis. I'm still just getting all my stuff set up here as, when you have a 4-year-old and a 3-week-old, sometimes things don't go according to plan. So a little bit delayed here. But the WNBA draft ready to get started. As we saw, obviously, for the Tempo, Marina Mabrey has signed the contract. Naira Sabali has signed the contract. And we got Slim, Brittany Sykes. It's going to be an up-tempo, no pun intended, Toronto Tempo team. Very exciting in that sense. They're going to be able to push the ball. We've got Julie Alaman playing point guard, who people think wants to play a slow-down offense. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case. I think they're going to be able to push the tempo, no pun intended. So that's very exciting. And we're going to see where we go. Of course, Angel Reese is now a member of the Atlanta Dream, and man, she had that locked and loaded and ready, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be very exciting to see who goes first overall to the Dallas Wings. Could it be Azzi Fudd from UConn to play with Paige Beckers? Could it be Flo J. Johnson's name has been bantied about of bumping up as well? That would be very, very interesting. Awa Pham, of course, is out there. And then we'll see what the Toronto Tempo do with 6. Of course, they took the later pick in the expansion draft to take the earlier pick tonight to pick 6 instead of 7th. So we will see what kind of difference that's going to make. It's going to be interesting. And it's going to be exciting. So if you're in the chat, of course, let us know who you want the Toronto Tempo to be drafting. If you have any, must draft players or who you're interested in, what you think the Dallas Wings are going to do at the same time. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. I don't know who necessarily. Lauren Betts' name is out there, of course. That's going to be one that goes early. You've got Jaquez, who could go early. Just trying to find an updated mock to see again. ESPN has Azzi Fudd going first. I just don't see that happening. I think Olivia Miles out of TCU would be a great fit for somebody like Paige Beckers. Again, Awa Pham, the center out of Spain. Lauren Betts, the center from UCLA, just had an unbelievable March Madness tournament. Nell Angloma's name has come out from France, averaging 15 and 5 for Basket Lats in the BMLA. You still have the Tempo with Flo J. Johnson, a 5'10 shooting guard, I think would be just, when you look at it from the sense of if Toronto gets somebody that just has that sort of viral appeal or has that social appeal, I think Flo J. Johnson does sort of fit that bill when you're looking at building a brand new franchise. To go along with the Marina Mabreys, to go along with the Brittany Sykes, you have your next echelon. So did they look for someone that's more of a project because they've got the Marina Mabrey and the Brittany Sykes? Or are you looking for someone that is more ready to go and play right now, someone like a Lauren Betts? Again, they've missed out on Shakira Austin, so their down low presence isn't going to be what it was if they had Shakira Austin. So It remains to be seen. I apologize for the light. The sun is beaming right into my face in this office window. So I do apologize for that. You know what? Let me fix that. There we go. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see again who that number 1 pick is going to be. Again, when it's the Dallas Wings, too. You can see there UCLA has 6 potential draft picks tonight. 6. Lauren Betts expected to be the first one to go. And it's just crazy to think, like, you go from a potential lockout to finishing March Madness to free agency to an expansion draft to the WNBA draft. The season starts in 3 weeks. Like, the tip-off is May 8th. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. So the chat is not going to work on this, but I have the chat open. So again, let me know if there's anybody out there that you want to see the Toronto Tempo specifically. And that's what, I'm most interested in is the Toronto Tempo. Who do you want to see there? And we are getting the show on the road. Dallas will be on the clock. Grade the drip, similar to the NBA draft. A lot of crazy outfits out there. And I'm not sure how far behind YouTube is. I think it's a little bit behind. So I'm seeing this live. I'm watching it on TSN live, so I'm not sure how far behind the stream would be. Big ups to the CBA. So if you saw the draft hats, Tempo's draft hat's actually pretty dope. This is like an Apple an Apple presentation where she has to talk about how good the WNBA is the whole time when in reality she is not my favorite commissioner. Dallas is up on the clock now. So it's the first time the team's had a consecutive pick since Lauren Jackson and Sue Bird 25 years ago. Sorry, there have been multiple. The aces, Plum, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young. That's crazy. So this is how you build it, right? Yeah, what am I talking about? Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, of course. So if there's one thing, it looks like Dallas should finally be able to kickstart and get into the playoffs. Minnesota's in an interesting spot because they were good last year and they've lost a lot of talent in free agency. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So there's the Wings projected roster. Paige Beckers, Arika Gumbawale, of course. Great tandem there. So you've got, obviously Paige is going to be who you build around, and Gumbawale is an incredible player as well. And now you can add, again, I lean more Olivia Miles at the point over the Azzy Fudd, and I don't know if that connection necessarily translates over as well. Pick is in. So here we go. So they're predicting that it's Fudd. I don't know that I see it, but the first pick of the 2026 WNBA draft. They went with Fudd. AZ Fudd from UConn. Most outstanding player in the 2025 Final Four. Didn't have a strong 2026 season, particularly in the tournament. After a career high 34 points, including 8 3-pointers in the second round, Fudd totaled just 31 points on 31% shooting over the last 3 games. 3 of 15 for 8 points in the national semifinal loss to South Carolina. However, she joins Paige Beckers at Dallas. And there you have it. So AZ Fudd is the number 1 overall pick to Dallas. I guess as some expected. And now you've got Minnesota's options open up to Olivia Miles from TCU, Awafam from Spain to Seattle potentially. Again, interesting to see what Washington does after keeping Shakira Austin. Do they, take next best player and go Lauren Betts? Or do they go maybe with a small forward like Nell and Gloma? Do they take a Flo J. Johnson? Do they take a Raven Johnson? Kiki Rice is out there as well. So that'll be interesting. They stuck with it. She was projected from jump that AZ Fudd would go to Dallas, and she does. So maybe much ado about nothing, but it stays as expected. Obviously, a great pick for Dallas. I mean, I don't know, arguably best player available. We will see. Seventh member of the Huskies to be the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA. Yeah, so there you have it. I still think Toronto is in such a good spot. Toronto is in such a good spot with Marina Mabrey, with Brittany Sykes, with whoever they end up taking at 6. I think the tempo, I've said it, I think they make the playoffs in their first season. Obviously, you have some holes to fill. Obviously, losing Shakira Austin to the Mystics, matching the offer is a tough one. We'll see how it goes though. It's gonna at the very least it's gonna be interesting to see Fudd and Beckers play together again. Can they coexist again? Is there enough ball to go around? Wale is a scorer as well. But I think this is where it gets interesting. And now we'll see who's going to go number 2 to Minnesota. It could be anybody. A lot of time in between picks. Of course. So we'll see with Minnesota again. Minnesota had the best record in the WNBA, 34-10. They lost a lot of players. Lost in the conference finals last year. They do have Nafisa Collier, of course. Yeah, I think point guard is probably where I would go if I was Minnesota with Olivia Miles. But that said, it's tough not to take a center. Yeah, Bridget Carlton, former member of the Lynx, gone to the Portland Fire in the expansion draft with that first overall pick, which makes it interesting, certainly. I think it's got to be Pham or Miles. I can't see them going anywhere else at 2. Here we go. Olivia Miles. Good pick. Good pick for Minnesota. Miles averaged 20 points this past season with the TCU Horned Frogs. They went 32-6, won the Big 12 regular season title. She had 6 triple doubles, including one in the March Madness tournament. Excellent court vision. She made 73 threes at TCU and also last season at Notre Dame. And again, as mentioned, the Lynx have lost some key players. And so I think having a young point guard that can play with a Nafisa Collier as they start growing does need to improve her defense, but I think it's a great pick. I think that's a great pick. So not much changing really there. That's sort of where the mock had things going. So now again it starts to get interesting. So you've got Seattle, you've got Washington, you've got Chicago, and then you've got Toronto and Portland. So does Seattle go with someone like Awa Pham? Do they go with someone like Lauren Betts? Do they go maybe sort of off the board? You know, it'll be interesting to see what Seattle wants to do here. So yeah, last season the Storm were 23-21, not terrible. Obviously, and then you look, they don't have much this year currently. Lexi Brown, Natisha Heidemann, Jade Melbourne. They just need the best player available, which is probably Lauren Betts. I think that would probably be the way I would go if I was Seattle, is to just go Betts there. You don't want a project, right? I think that's the biggest thing. You don't want to take someone that's going to need a lot of work, which you might get if you take Fam out of Spain. That might be the case there. And so far, I mean, I don't want to say so far so good for Toronto, but I think these first two picks expected. I don't think it changes their game plan at all. These were not players that were going to be there at 6. So 3 is going to be interesting. If you're watching, let me know who you would take at number 3. Bam, Betts, Johnson or Johnson, Angloma. Maybe somebody off the board. Kiki Rice is now projected to go down a little bit further. Gabriela Jaquez projected to go 12 to Connecticut. Could she jump up? Probably not, but you never know. I was going to do the first 2 rounds, but given that Toronto doesn't, we'll see how fast the second round goes. We might just be sticking around for the first round live here. And while we're in a commercial break, just to let you know, if this is something you enjoy, we're getting close to the season. We're going to have game recaps after every single Tempo game the next morning. We will talk about the game, how it went, what we like, what we don't like, documenting that first season. Not super long, 5-10 minutes or so, breaking down the game, get you caught back up, give you instant analysis on how we think the team is going, how they're doing. Of course, just WNBA news in general. Should something big happen, we'll obviously be talking about that. But feel free to subscribe. And, whether you're from Toronto or you're not, talking Tempo, talking WNBA, it's a critical season. It's a huge season, the first year of the new CBA. We've got 2 new franchises coming into the league. The first international team in the Toronto Tempo, which is obviously going to be my main focus once the season gets started. So if there's something you're interested in, please do. Social channels are there as well. You can follow me across all of those. And man, I'm just excited to start, just to see a team start from the ground up, from having never 2 years ago announcing a team, having never played a game, to not having players, and then it all just happening so quickly and, all at once, to an expansion draft, an entry draft, free agency, games, tickets, merch, jerseys. All that stuff is exciting. And the pick is in for Seattle. Halfway to the Tempo's first pick. Yeah, that's the Storm lost damn near everybody. So here we go. The pick is in for the Seattle Storm. And they're going with they took Fam out of Spain. A 6'4 center, averaged 9 points, 5 boards for Valencia. Just 19 years old and a ton of potential. Probably the most potential in the draft if she can achieve it. The Storm, of course, lost Gumake to Los Angeles, lost Brittany Sykes to the Tempo. I was kind of, do they go Fam or do they go with Betts? They went with Awa Fam. Very interesting. Yeah. Seattle is in full rebuild mode. And so a great pick when you're going to do that. Go with the project. Go with the fact that you know you're probably not going to win a lot of games this year, which means how often have we seen back-to-back first overall picks, Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd? How quickly that this could turn into the same situation where Seattle gets Fam this year, and next year we're talking about them getting their first overall pick to pair with Fam. Made her career debut with Valencia Basket in 2021 at 15 years of age, the youngest ever player to play for them. And it's a great pick. I mean, she could be, and it's insane to compare anybody to an Asia Wilson or something like that, but she has potential to be the best player in the WNBA at some point. And I don't think it's out of pocket to say that at all. And again, I know I keep saying this after every pick. Here's where it gets interesting. And that was interesting. So far, the ESPN mock draft has just gone down the board right where it is. So you've got Washington on the clock, which I think this is the pick that will end up having a direct effect on the Toronto Tempo. They weren't getting Fudd, they weren't getting Miles, they weren't getting Fam. But now you start looking at 4, 5, and 6, Lauren Betts, Flo J. Johnson, Raven Johnson, Kiki Rice, Nell Ngloma. One of these players, theoretically, will be the first entry selection draft of the Toronto Tempo. And what Washington does here, I think, will dictate it. Because if Lauren Betts is on the board at 6, she's going to the Toronto Tempo. I have no doubt in my mind. Is she going to be there? I don't know. But she might be there. She might be there. What the Mystics having matched the offer for Shakira Austin, theoretically, they've got a center. But does that matter? I don't know. Probably not. There's obviously injury risk with Austin, so that might be something where they want a backup plan anyways, a younger backup plan. So yeah, Mystics, man. Citron, Kiki Arafan. They've got 1 pick next year, 2 picks in 2028. They've got the 4 and the 9 and the 11 this year. Yeah, Washington had a good draft, but this will be interesting. Like I said, I think this pick has the direct reflection of what the Tempo are going to be able to do. Very similar situations. And their pick is in. Let's see. They took Lauren Betts. So they kept that going. So Toronto's not getting Lauren Betts, obviously. Betts helped her draft stock during the NCAA tournament. Nice side benefit to winning the national championship. She shot at least 60% from the field in all 6 March Madness games, finishing with a 68.8 field goal percentage. She averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, named the tournament's most outstanding player. This is what the Mystics needed. I am bummed because I would have loved Toronto to be able to get Lauren Betts. An incredible pick. So it's too bad. I mean, again, you talk Pham could be the best player in the draft. There's, reason to believe that 6'7" Lauren Betts could also be one of the best players to come out of this draft. She had an incredible March Madness tournament, as we mentioned. So much fun to watch, and plays with that, that passion, that heart. Maybe has that little bit extra, that, it factor that you want to talk about. It's almost too bad that she ends up in Washington. So with her off the board now, we're 2 picks away from Toronto. Okay. And so Chicago, so far the ESPN draft has nailed the first 4 picks. If you want to believe what their mock draft has for 5, it's Nell Angloma out of France, a 5'11" small forward. Who the heck knows what the Sky are going to do after trading Angel Reese? They bring in Rakia Jackson, like got draft picks for Angel Reese, didn't get any players. So I don't know. I don't know. Chicago is such a wild card. I don't think anybody knows what something like Chicago will do at any point of the year, not to mention in the WNBA draft. No one knew what they were going to do last year or a couple years ago when they took Cardoso and Reese. Like, who knows? But great pick for Washington, of course, with Lauren Betts. And it's always nice. Like, I don't think it can be understated when you draft a winner and you draft someone that's won a championship at the college level, whether it's the WNBA or the NBA. I don't think that can be understated. You know how to win. You know what it takes to get there. You face that adversity. And so the Chicago Sky, second fewest wins in franchise history. They scored the fewest amount of points in the WNBA at 75.8. Really, all they have is Camila Cardoso at this point. She averaged 13 and a half and 8.5 boards last year. It's traded Angel Reese for 2 first-round picks. So where do they go? Because depending on this, it will be, we'll see what the Toronto Tempo are working with. I forgot they got Dejanay Carrington too. So just a bit of a bizarre lineup, like kind of no real rhyme or reason to what Chicago is doing in this offseason. Quick. Came quick, and then the Toronto Tempo are going to be on the clock. Wow. There's your first shocker. Gabrielle Jaquez off the board. ESPN had her going 12 to Connecticut. Wow. Big surprise, Chicago. Hawkes, 21 points, 10 boards, 5 assists in the national championship. She averaged a career high 13 and a half, shot 54% from the field, all career bests. The franchise, of course, moving to Houston in that's Connecticut. Wow. So no surprise that Chicago's the one that takes the shocker there. But more important than anything, now Toronto is on the clock. And they've got Nell Angloma, Flo J. Johnson, that's who I'm hoping for, Raven Johnson, Kiki Rice. Do they go off the board? And we just saw with like a Tania Latson, a Marta Suarez. Do they go for a center? Someone like Medina Okot from South Carolina. Who knows? But it is very surprising to see Hawkes go that high. That to me is a pick that Chicago made based solely on the national championship. Not to say that Hawkes is not a great player, but that's a high pick. That is a high pick. So again, as I mentioned, my hope is LSU shooting guard Flo J. Johnson. Ton of ability, ton of potential, ton of personality to be the face of a brand new franchise. Of course, Marina Mabry's probably, your initial face of the franchise, but having the personality, having someone like Flo J. Johnson come in behind, I think would be great. Problem is she's a guard, right? So where do you go as Toronto? Do you draft for? I think if you're picking sixth, you can't draft for need. You have to just draft best player available. Do they go with a point guard like Raven Johnson from South Carolina, who did have a great tournament as well? Um, Helped end UConn's unbeaten season. That's a decent pick as well. Nell Gloma, again from France, a bit more of an unknown, but she's young, doesn't turn 20 until June, can play small forward, could play shooting guard. I mean, I don't know if Toronto wants a project necessarily, given that they've got the Mabry, the Brittany Sykes. Like, I mean, it's tough. Like, do you draft a project because you have those veteran players, or do you avoid the projects because you're trying to get to the playoffs sooner than later? We're about to find out. Looks like they're going to go to a commercial break, so it gives us time to sit and stew in it. You've got the Kiki Rice out there, UCLA point guard. Um, just won a national championship as well. Toronto's going to get there. I don't think there's anybody, if there's anybody that they wanted, I don't think that there's anybody, nobody stole their pick, I would think, let's just say. I don't think there's anybody that's been drafted so far where Toronto's thought, that's who we really wanted. Especially after Hawkes goes, you were never getting Fudd, you were never getting Miles, Fom, or Betts. And so, theoretically, based on where you knew you were picking in the draft, this is exactly what you want. No surprises. The only team going off the board, like, there's no way that Toronto is going to pick Hawkes. So now we just wait and see. What they're going to do. It's going to be exciting. Give me Flo J. Johnson. Give me Kiki Rice. I don't want to take somebody international at this point. You've got, again, Bedina Ockett from South Carolina, 13 points, 11 rebounds. Then you've got your down low presence because you just, again, lost out on Shakira Austin. So does that change anything? Again, I don't want to draft based on need with the 6th overall pick. I think that's a mistake. So we are going to see. And then at this point, I was going to stay through the first round, but I think we'll probably get out of here after the Portland Fire's first overall pick because we can't be here all night. Okay. Let's see what the Toronto Tempo are about to do. Yeah, the next 3 picks are all relatively new between Toronto and then Portland, and of course Golden State, who came into the W last season. Sandy Brandello, of course, an awesome signing. It's again why I don't think that we're taking prospects or projects. The pick is in. Lovely in the summer. Everybody thinks, guess what? Toronto's exactly like New York and Philadelphia and Boston. The weather is the same. Learn the cities, pal. So there's the Tempo's projected roster, of course. Naira Sabali, Marina Mabry, Lexi Hell, Julie Almond. Only 2 of 11 expansion teams have finished above 500 in their first season, that being Detroit and then last year with Golden State. I think Toronto can do that, man. I really do. Are they going to be competing for the WNBA championship? No, but they can compete for a playoff spot, especially with Sandy Brandello. Here we go. The first pick in the history of the Toronto Tempo is going to be. Who's it going to be? They went Kiki Rice. Okay. They went Kiki Rice, point guard from UCLA, and she was great. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals, shot 50% from the field and 40% from behind the arc, 90% at the foul line. All those numbers career highs. She also averaged 4.6 assists, including 4 free throws in the final 13 seconds that clinched UCLA's national semifinal win over Texas. And there we go. So there we go. It wasn't Flo J, who I wanted, but you can't be mad at Kiki Johnson, Kiki Rice. You cannot be mad with that at all. She crushed it at UCLA, and there you go. There's your stalwart at point. Players wanted to transfer to UCLA to play with Kiki Rice. So there you go. A great pick. Now you're pairing her with Mabry. You're pairing her with Brittany Sykes. They still need to figure out their presence down low, but they've got more picks in this draft to potentially do so. Awesome player, awesome person, awesome pick. And so it goes to show that's who Toronto wanted the whole way because, again, with no surprises going ahead of them, that's who they wanted. And she says Toronto right. She said Toronto correctly. She said Toronto. It's not Toronto, it's Toronto. Yeah, this is going to be great. This is a great pick. What a great pick. What a great pick. From Baltimore, Maryland, man, you can't go wrong. There we go. The point guard of the future, Kiki Rice, again, national champion. Can't beat that. We'll stick around here for Portland's first pick, and then we'll get out of here to watch the rest of the WNBA draft. Oh, I'm elated. That's a great pick. That is a great pick. Yeah, it's great stuff, man. That's really great stuff. You can't go wrong. Again, drafting a winner, drafting a point guard, someone who's been there, someone who just knows how to run an offense, how to run a team. It's going to fit in well with the city. We'll see who Portland goes with. They've been leaning more towards the younger and the more the prospects or more the projects. So we will see. And here we go. Portland's first ever draft pick in the entry draft is okay. They went off the board. She wasn't on the she wasn't on the mock draft at all. Oh no, sorry. She was on the mock draft to go 8 to the Valkyries. Turned 20 in January, part of the Spanish team that advanced the Eurobasket Championship game. So they're going all young, right? That's sort of that's the that's what Portland's doing is they're just going all young. Toronto not so much. So there we go. We're going to wrap up the stream here. We will have a fresh podcast tomorrow to discuss Kiki Rice in Toronto, the rest of the WNBA draft. If this is something that you like, please feel free to subscribe or drop a like. And we're almost here at the season. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of the draft. Go Tempo.